Join the VLGA and LGIU for their next Global Executive Live panel on Thursday the 22nd of May, addressing a pressing issue for local government. This webinar will explore the experiences and lessons from across the globe when it comes to civility in public life. Hear from experts about what they're observing, the reasons for a decline in civility, and the impact this is having on retaining talent and promoting diversity. Tickets are free for VLGA members and alumni, and $60 for non-members, excluding GST. Head to the VLGA website to find out more and secure your place. And we look forward to seeing you at the Global Executive Live panel Thursday the 22nd of May from 5:30 p.m. Councils lose out in court. A Melbourne council takes a strong stand against the Suburban Rail Loop. Another municipal monitors report is released. A major restructure for a Sydney council. Continued disruptions to a New South Wales council's meetings prompts a major process review. Workers locked out in Noosa as an industrial dispute escalates. The Tasmanian Council making news for all the wrong reasons. And a seismic shift in England in the latest council elections. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy. This is the Local Government News Roundup. Also today, a new survey reveals the extent of the planner shortage in local government. Regional Cities Victoria Chair and Greater Shepparton Mayor Shane Sali joins me to discuss. The podcast is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. Well, it's not been a great week for councils in the courts. Central Goldfields Shire Council has lost its appeal against a Fair Work Commission ruling that allows its staff to collectively bargain with Ararat Council staff on a proposed enterprise agreement. The federal court ruled last week against the council's arguments that the Commission's ruling was contrary to the public interest and contrary to fundamental workplace principles. In dismissing the council's application, the court described the grounds of challenge as unrealistic and irrelevant. It also determined that there should be no order as to costs, but that the first respondent, the ASU, was at liberty to make an application. ASU's Tash Walk told the Maryborough District Advertiser that the decision sends a message to the industry and other employers seeking to block workers' rights under new legislation. You'll find a link to the federal court decision in our show notes. The Liberal Party scored a victory over Borrandara Council last week after the council removed a number of A-frame signs from outside an early voting centre in Kew earlier in the week. The council had argued the signs were a risk to pedestrians and road users, having earlier advised candidates of a limit of one sign each. In challenging the council's permit rule, Liberal Party State Director Stuart Smith argued that it was a potential contradiction of implied constitutional freedom of political communication. A Supreme Court justice ruled in favour of the party's request for an injunction, noting that it had given an undertaking to supply its signage in accordance with the council's safety instructions. Over the weekend, the council said it was pleased that the court recognised its right to maintain public safety. It said its officers always intended to ensure residents did not have to walk on the road to avoid signs that were blocking the footpath, and it provided before and after photographs to show the positive impact of its enforcement activities. Lots of reporting on this, and there's links to 9 News, ABC News, Sky News and the Sydney Morning Herald in our show notes. A Macrae couple has won a court battle against Mornington Peninsula Council, which had tried to force them to pay $1.25 million for stabilising works after a landslide affected their property. That's according to a report from The Age. The Building Appeals Board ruled that the council had no authority to compel the homeowners to pay for the works, since they weren't undertaking any building work when the first landslide occurred in November 2022. However, the ruling doesn't resolve who is ultimately responsible for fixing the damaged escarpment. A commission of inquiry is looking into the causes of the landslides and is currently accepting submissions. Legal issues at Kingston City Council as well, which has received advice that 2 of its decisions should be reconsidered after Councillor Jane Agatan was stood down following charges of breaching a personal safety intervention order. The decisions about the approval of an electronic billboard at Westfield Southland and the referral of previous awarding of council grants to the Local Government Inspectorate were both narrowly passed, with Councillor Agatan's supporting vote. Bayside News reported that while an internal review found no breach of the Local Government Act by the council, the 2 decisions in question were due to be reconsidered at last week's council meeting. Councillor Agatan will remain stood down until her court appearance in June. Bayside Council has controversially resolved to oppose the state government's Suburban Rail Loop project in its entirety. In a tight 4-3 vote, the council decided to write to the Premier and relevant ministers seeking an immediate stop to the program. It will also undertake a Freedom of Information request to the Suburban Rail Loop Authority to understand how it is responding to an Infrastructure Australia recommendation that it develop exit strategies for the conclusion or transition out of the project in the event that it cannot be delivered. And Victoria's Minister for Local Government, Nick Stakos, has received the final report from municipal monitors overseeing Moonee Valley City Council. The monitors, Ms Prue Digby and Mr Philip Carruthers, have reported substantial improvements in the council's operations during their 13-month oversight period from January last year to February this year. Key achievements highlighted in the report include enhanced administration and governance functions, alongside a notable improvement in workplace culture. The monitors said the council has demonstrated strong commitment to implementing recommended governance reforms, concluding that no further intervention will be necessary. Moonee Valley Mayor Councillor Ava Adams welcomed the release of the report and confirmed that the monitors' recommendations had been implemented and will continue to be monitored to ensure good governance is upheld at the council. The comprehensive report, including detailed findings and recommendations, has been made publicly available through the Local Government Victoria website. More news in brief. Ballarat City Council has successfully trialled an innovative nanotechnology stabilising agent in road reconstruction that strengthens clay-based soil at a molecular level, resulting in a more durable road surface and reduced construction costs. The trial demonstrated the technology delivers bearing capacity of 5 to 10 times stronger than conventional roads, while being more resistant to cracking and flooding. The City of Greater Geelong is celebrating the centenary of Ford Australia in Geelong, which began at the Dalgety Wool Store in 1925. 2 free events will be held at the National Wool Museum later this month, featuring archival screenings and panel discussions. And Cardinia Shire Council is seeking $25 million in government funding to develop a business case for 4 grade-separated interchanges along the Princess Highway. The intersections handle around 30,000 vehicles a day, and there have been over 115 road collisions and 4 fatalities in the area since 2017. We're going to focus for a few minutes on one of the wicked problems facing the local government sector in Australia, the severe shortage of urban and regional planners. It's been highlighted in the results of a new survey from the Planning Institute of Australia. The survey shows that nearly 2/3 of organisations are struggling to fill planning roles, which is directly impacting housing supply and affordability. The Planning Institute of Australia's calls for urgent government action echoes those of peak bodies and advocacy groups like Regional Cities Victoria. Shane Sali is the chair of Regional Cities Victoria and joins me now. Shane, great to talk to you again.
Great to speak with you as well, Chris. Always a pleasure to be online with you, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk about some shortages in across the local government sector.
Look, it's a big issue. Before we get to that, just congratulations on your re-election. I haven't spoken to you since last October, but also on being appointed to, I think it's your second term in the chair at Regional Cities Victoria.
Yeah, it is. So always grateful to get the support of the people of Greater Shepparton, and in particular for the first time we got broken down into wards. So the Balaclava ward, which is new to Greater Shepparton, and then fortunate enough to once again get the support from our regional cities partners, and obviously which make up the 10 biggest cities in regional Vic. So yeah, it's good bit of business as usual, and our Deputy Chair Andrea Metcalf is back in again as well. So yeah, a bit of stability, which is always important.
We've had this survey result come out from the Planning Institute of Australia. They've called this planning shortage a hidden risk to solving Australia's housing crisis. I'd have to say, though, to people like you, to RCV and people around the sector, it's not been so much hidden. For quite some time you've been concerned about this.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, it hasn't been hidden from our perspective, and it's actually great that it's sort of making its way, onto the surface and even sort of exceeding that. And there's been some recent press around, as you rightly mentioned, the Planning Institute have released some figures there, which were of no surprise to us whatsoever. Regional cities, and this is what's really pleasing when you're an advocacy group that come together and obviously made up some really strong regional cities and some really good leaders, that when we're tabling and putting forward our needs and wants and sharing them with not only the federal government but the state government. We're all trying to achieve some housing targets. And when we talk about housing targets, that the more land you can have identified and you can unlock those opportunities, that generally you would hope that some affordability comes with that. Now, to have all that achieved, it requires the back of house work, and then in predominantly that is your planners. And yeah, it's been noted now that there is a significant shortfall, and you can't really backfill that role with anyone internally with, more often than not, most other jobs within local government. So deeply concerned around what the future looks like in that space, and glad that there's some more airtime about it to create those conversations.
What does this planning shortage mean for councils like yours and the other regional cities in Victoria? How does it manifest as a problem?
Yeah, so what happens is, and as you can appreciate, and most of your listeners would be well aware, that when you have to undertake significant rezoning and identifying new precincts, they require obviously planners, engineers, and acknowledging that planners is one of the shortfalls. We're also seeing it with engineers. We are challenged from a local government perspective to attract and retain those key personnel. And what the issue there is that when you want to progress, subdivisions and effectively identify precincts, there is so much work that happens before it gets into public display, before you then take it to a council meeting for endorsement, and then it obviously makes its way down to the planning minister for further endorsement to have that sort of fully ratified. Then to have all that achieved, you need planners. That's from that really high level perspective. Then there's just the day-to-day little planning subdivisions that happen. People want to re-subdivide land, little parcels of land, let alone significant. So why this has become more of an issue now is that clearly in particular regional Victoria, and this is sort of stemmed coming out of COVID, that, we saw a massive influx of people wanting to live and work in regional Victoria. And our land supply is, in most regional cities was quite strong and identified good parcels of land without acknowledging what a significant uptake would mean. And to now try and get things to a level that allow that sort of 10 to 15 year growth, you need those skilled individuals working in your city to be able to deliver those outcomes. And in particular, we're seeing Latrobe City Council, and I have to mention this one in particular, they are paying to put 2 planners through uni, and they are only available in online courses because there is no on-campus opportunity in Victoria anymore. So, it's sort of really, crazy to think that one of the most, if not the most demanding role within local government cannot be fulfilled by undertaking an in-room course at one of our universities in Victoria.
Yeah, there's something seriously amiss, isn't there? I see in the PIA results that 13 Australian universities have now closed their planning degrees completely over, I think it was a period of 8 years. So where are these qualified candidates going to come from? I guess that's the question that people are grappling with.
Yeah, so we've been proposing, and migration is obviously topical, more often than not. And what's being discussed now is around that skilled migration. So we haven't seen, and like I said, we're always happy to be corrected if it's taking place at the moment, but when you want to try to achieve these housing targets and get more affordability and allow people to build their Aussie dream, you need people to be able to do that. And if we haven't got local resources to be able to tap into, so, existing planners that are perhaps elsewhere working in private sector, then you need to understand what a migration policy can look like, and that in particular skilled migration. And what we've been proposing is a really strong 12-month marketing campaign to attract skilled migrants to here to deliver those planning requirements. Now, those jobs are always going to continue to be required because, as we all know, cities are growing. There's always going to be population growth. The demands of what community expect of local government require planners to help you build that future. So a really strong marketing campaign to create awareness for migration, but also an internal marketing campaign to sell that dream to, Aussie kids growing up, that are at school now and a little bit undecided about what they want to do into the future, that there is a really big opportunity here. It pays well. And what I will tell you is that from my short time in local government, sitting here and looking back, that, I will acknowledge that the executive roles are always looking good. But apart from that, I'd want to be a planner. There's just always work. There's just so much work in that field. So how do we tell that story to our young generation coming through school and sell that to those wanting to migrate to our great country?
Yeah, and perhaps make it a bit more sexy than it appears. Just one last question, Shane. I've been out of the country, I must confess, so I haven't followed a lot of what's happened through the federal election campaign, but I know there's been big housing announcements from the major parties. Has the planner issue been picked up in any of that to your level of awareness or satisfaction?
Yeah, no, I'd probably say it's been lost in a sense of the really high level statements that have been made around, obviously both sides of government have been really clear on housing targets and what they want to do, and obviously around migration, very high level discussions rather than sort of breaking down and understanding that for you to be able to achieve that, it's a little bit around, the cart before the horse and scenario that I'm not going to sit here and challenge what's been proposed by any level of government. What I will look at is that how are you going to be able to achieve it? And if you haven't got things in order to facilitate that, you can have a target, but you've got to have people that have got to deliver that for you. Mm. And more often than not, that if you can get the resources in the local government where you're going to see a significant amount of growth, because there's only so much growth that can take place in city areas in regards to greenfield developments. And above and beyond what we were proposing from regional cities, which is, the migration component, is the incentives to encourage people to do those courses locally. So we propose to the federal government as well that, that waiving the cost to facilitate or for you to be put through those courses if you commit to perhaps 2 years work in regional Victoria. So you'll go through this planning course, we'll effectively waive your fee, and you go and deliver services and outcomes for regional Victoria, and you've got to do that for 2 years. There is no incentive to be able to do that. And what we're asking is that that's how you can make it a bit more appealing and allow people to have that conversation. That hasn't been said in any detail from a federal perspective that I've been able to see or hear.
Well, let's hope post-election some of those nuances get picked up and work through. Shane, thank you so much. Always great to have you on. And we've got some great minds working on this problem, so hopefully some solutions are not too far away.
Gurring, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for having me on.
I was speaking there with Shane Sali, the Mayor of Greater Shepparton, who is also the Chair of Regional Cities Victoria. This is the Local Government News Roundup, brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association. If you're a young councillor wanting to connect with other like-minded people in the sector, you should register now to save your place at the launch of the VLGA's Young Councillors Network. It's open to all Victorian councillors aged 40 years and under. The support group will share conversations, key learnings, observations and ideas, and it will be officially launched online on Thursday, the 8th of May at 7:30pm. You can meet your fellow YCN members and discuss how the group can best support you throughout the council term. To register for the Young Councillors Network, visit the VLGA website to find out more. Registration is free for councillors aged 40 and under from VLGA member councils.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey there, I'm Aviva Klompus.
The news moves fast, and it's not easy to cut through the noise and understand what really matters.
Okay, guys, we got to get off the roof.
So sorry to interrupt. We do now have...
That's why twice a week I sit down with former Israeli ambassador to Washington, Dr. Michael Oren, and other leading voices to dig beyond the headlines.
It is happening fast.
This is not something that's...
Let us go back, a 30,000-foot moment.
Subscribe to Boundless Insights wherever you get your podcasts.
Time for some more news now. Let's look at our New South Wales report. In Liverpool, the City Council has announced a major organisational shake-up aimed at streamlining operations and improving service delivery. Under the proposed restructure, led by newly appointed CEO Jason Breton, the council will reduce its directorates from 6 to 4. The move comes with a promise to boost frontline resources while trimming the executive layer. Liverpool Mayor Ned Manoon says residents and stakeholders will have their say during a 28-day consultation period which is underway. The council is particularly focused on improving basic services like grass cutting, rubbish collection and road repairs. If approved, the new structure will take effect from the 11th of June. Continued disruptions of Clarence Valley Council meetings have led to Mayor Ray Smith reportedly considering implementing a ticketed entry system. The Clarence Valley Independent reported on the most recent council meeting, which had to be adjourned multiple times due to disturbances, eventually forcing the council to continue its meeting without the public in attendance. Despite the presence of security guards, the meeting was repeatedly interrupted, leading to a 6-3 vote to exclude the public. The Mayor has confirmed he'll be consulting with the Office of Local Government about introducing a ticketing process to limit attendance at future meetings. Camden Council has welcomed a New South Wales Government announcement to establish a new renal dialysis unit at Camden Hospital, following the Council's advocacy campaign for improved infrastructure investment. While Mayor Ashley Cagney said it was a significant step forward for the local community, she wants to see more investment to meet the growing population's healthcare demands. The Council's broader advocacy campaign, The Time Is Now, calls for urgent investment from state and federal governments in various infrastructure projects, including hospitals, schools, roads and public transport. Shellharbour City Council has unanimously approved a motion to address safety concerns regarding e-scooters, bikes and electric-powered transport devices in public spaces. The motion from Councillor Rob Petresky called for a comprehensive report examining safety risks, enforcement options, infrastructure improvements and educational programs, with particular focus on high-traffic areas like the Shell Cove Marina. The Council has also adopted a new Respect at Work policy, updating a previous version to include management of psychosocial risks. The Illawarra Mercury reported that the new policy represents a more proactive approach to dealing with bullying, both in the office and at social functions. And Blacktown City's Mount Druitt Swimming Centre is set to receive a major $40.6 million upgrade funded by the New South Wales Government, which includes adding an indoor learn-to-swim pool and refurbishing the existing 50-metre outdoor pool. The redevelopment is expected to begin in 2026 and will take around 18 months. Let's head to Queensland, where Noosa Council management has locked out union members participating in industrial action. Council CEO Larry Sengstock has ordered staff involved in protected strike action to stay away from work from late last week until Monday. The lockout comes after unions rejected the council's revised pay offer of a 14% increase over 3 years. Around 1/5 of the council's staff are expected to be affected by the measure. Workers locked out have been barred from council premises and required to return council vehicles. Normal operations are set to resume on Tuesday. Michael Anderson from the Australian Workers' Union told Noosa Today that the lockout was an extreme tactic designed to intimidate workers into accepting an offer they don't want. He described it as mean and nasty and said they will not accept such heavy-handed tactics, warning that it has escalated the industrial dispute to a concerning level for Noosa residents. But Mr Sengstock says the lockout was an unfortunate but necessary step.
It's not taken lightly. It's a big decision. It's not something that we've ever done before, but unfortunately it is something that has happened across a number of councils during their negotiations with their certified agreements. The unions that we're dealing with have basically put us in this position now that we need to take this action, and unfortunately I've had to make the decision to do it. We're mostly funded by community rates, and it isn't a bottomless pit. And we need to make sure that, we look after and assist people in their, it's a cost of living crisis. We know that, so we're trying to assist there. But we're also got to be cognizant of the sustainability of the organisation and the future of our organisation. So we can't just be willy-nilly. We have to work within the bounds that we've got. We believe we've put a very substantial package in front of them. It's 13.5%, 14% over the next 3 years, which we believe is a substantial increase, plus other elements of the package that we believe is substantial and maintains the sustainability of Noosa Council.
That's Noosa Council CEO Larry Sengstock. You can hear more of his comments on the Noosa Council website. The dispute heads to the Queensland Industrial Relations Commission next Wednesday for conciliation talks. Cairns Regional Council has unanimously endorsed a report outlining plans to develop the Southern Growth Corridor, a 3,300-hectare undeveloped area between Edmonton and Gordonvale that could deliver 18,500 new homes. The council is seeking $150 million each from state and federal governments to fund the $450 million infrastructure requirements for the first stage, while also pursuing a priority development area designation to accelerate planning and delivery. More news in brief. Bland Shire Council has been named a finalist in 2 categories at the 2025 Local Government Excellence Awards, one for their Youth Centre External Art Project and another for the Innovative Audit Alliance Project, which achieved 75% cost savings through collaboration with neighbouring councils. The winners will be announced in June. WA's town of Port Hedland has had to call off its latest council meeting. 2 late apologies from elected members meant it would not be able to achieve a quorum. A new date for the meeting is yet to be advised. Alice Springs Town Council has voted to not fill a vacancy left by former Yipperinya School Principal Gavin Morris, who resigned last month while facing assault charges in court. NT News reported the council will leave the position vacant until the elections in August. And Bega Valley Shire Council has launched a 6-episode podcast series called Unhoused Voices from the Threshold, highlighting the housing crisis and homelessness issues in the region. The podcast aims to raise awareness about homelessness while challenging perceptions and generating potential solutions. On to Tasmania now, where Burnie Council continues to make news for all the wrong reasons. The Advocate reported last week that more than 100 complaints have been lodged against one councillor in just over 4 months. Many of the complaints against Councillor Trent Aitken related to his social media attacks on transgender women and the LGBTQIA+ community. General Manager Shane Crawford confirmed that he'd received the extraordinary number of complaints since his appointment last December, but that not all were specifically about Councillor Aitken's attacks on transgender women. A petition is circulating in the community calling on Councillor Aitken to resign and requesting the council and LGAT lobby the government to give the local government minister the power to dismiss a councillor for breaching the Anti-Discrimination Act. The Minister, Kerry Vincent, said a draft bill will be released soon, including proposed new provisions to deal with serious councillor misconduct. The Advocate also reported last week that Burnie Council has received 3 reports relating to alleged code of conduct breaches by the Mayor Teeny Brumby, brought by former GM Simon Overland and another senior council officer. The Mayor was found by a panel to have committed 2 breaches, having caused offence and embarrassment to a council director and overstepping her role in relation to a controversial public art project. Questions were raised as to how the former general manager had gained access to the mayor's emails, allegedly breaking a commitment made previously that such an action would not be taken. In South Australia, Adelaide City Council has proposed a 5.6% rate rise for the coming financial year, which would see the average residential property rates increase by approximately $118. In Daily reported, the council has also introduced a new minimum rate of $600, affecting about 1,100 small businesses and other properties across the city. The decision was controversial, prompting 3 councillors to walk out of the council meeting in protest, citing concerns over cost of living pressures. The council's draft budget projects borrowings of up to $49 million, with an operating surplus of $8.5 million. Residents can have their say on the proposed changes through the council's website until the 27th of May. The city of Onkaparinga is exploring the possibility of increasing rates on vacant private land. A report is due to council in September, examining various rating mechanisms, legal considerations and community impacts. Additionally, the council is developing an affordable housing strategy, acknowledging the urgency of the housing crisis. The strategy will be considered by the council within weeks. From Western Australia, Wanneroo City Council has approved a unique request allowing a councillor to care for orphaned baby kangaroos on council premises. Councillor Jacqueline Huntley, a licensed wildlife carer, has won her appeal to bring neonatal joeys into the council's reading room, despite initial opposition from council staff. The decision comes after heated debate, with Mayor Linda Aitken expressing concerns about workplace professionalism and potential distractions. Councillor Huntley has argued the move is crucial for providing round-the-clock care to orphaned native wildlife. Perth Now reported that the decision could set a precedent for wildlife carers in public offices across Western Australia. And Radio 6PR has reported on leaked emails between councillors and the mayor at the City of Nedlands. The emails are said to show a complete breakdown in the function and cohesion of councillors. The email chain reportedly includes a war of words between some councillors and the mayor over a councillor's paid leave from council duties of 5 months and a call from some for the installation of administrators. The Local Government News Roundup is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association with support from Symphony 3, Simple Connected Customer Experiences. This is episode number 447, and we round it out with some stories from around the globe, starting in the UK, where the results are in from local elections in England. And there's been a seismic shift towards the Reform Party. The Nigel Farage-led party gained control of 10 councils and won 2 mayoral contests. BBC News reported that the Labor Party lost more than 180 councillors and narrowly held on in 3 mayoral races. And it was a disaster for the Conservatives, who lost more than 670 council positions and won just 1 mayoral race. Mr Farage says his party has now replaced the Tories as the main opposition party, and he's issued a warning to council staff to look for other jobs. In Durham, one of the councils now under Reform control, he said staff working on climate change, diversity initiatives, or even just working from home should be seeking alternative careers. That has prompted the head of the UK's biggest union, Unison, to urge staff to sign up so they can be protected, telling The Guardian that unions are there to ensure that no one can play fast and loose with the law. Martin Dowie, the Conservative leader of South Ayrshire Council, has temporarily stepped down following the release of a secret recording where he allegedly discussed helping award contracts to pals and made disparaging remarks about council officers. The former police officer maintains he's acted properly at all times and has requested a full investigation. BBC News reported that Police Scotland is assessing correspondence regarding the matter. And in Essex, weekly bin collections are making a comeback in Basildon Council after residents voiced their frustration with a controversial fortnightly collection scheme. BBC News reported that the Labor-controlled council has scrapped the previous Conservative administration's waste system, which required residents to sort their recycling into 6 different sections. The reversal follows a public consultation where over 73% of respondents demanded a return to weekly collections. In the USA, Los Angeles City Council is taking steps to boost its declining local film industry, unanimously approving a proposal to cut red tape for productions in the city. KNX News reported the measure aims to reduce fees and streamline the permitting process for filming on city property. The move comes as Film LA reports a concerning 22% decline in on-location filming during the first quarter of this year. 8 US mayors have formed an alliance to leverage AI and emerging technologies in city governance. The mayor of Brooklyn Park in Minnesota, Hollis Winston, is a founding member of the Community Innovation Partnership, which is highlighting the potential of AI for improving efficiency while being mindful of systemic biases. He tells the Sun Post that it's not about replacing people, but it's more about replacing whole streams of work to free up staff to give a better customer service experience. In New Zealand, a New Zealand government minister's request for mayors across the country to help improve school attendance has been met with resistance. One News reported that local government leaders, including Ashburton Mayor Neil Brown, say it's not their core responsibility and that the mixed messages about their role are confusing. Local Government New Zealand President Sam Broughton highlighted the contradiction between the government's directive for councils to focus on basics like roads and water, while simultaneously asking them to take on educational responsibilities that traditionally fall under central government purview. Rotorua Lakes Council has voted to maintain its LGNZ membership despite some councillors' concerns about value for money. The New Zealand Herald reported that the annual subscription of $93,000 will be reviewed by the new council after October's election. And Wellington City Council has given its support to a proposal to lower the local voting age to 16, according to the Post. It's taken the position that teenagers already have various adult responsibilities, including working, paying taxes and holding firearms licences, and the right to vote should be included. And finally, a story out of Japan that caught my eye. Osaka Prefecture is implementing a groundbreaking ban on people aged 65 and over from using ATMs while speaking on mobile phones. The ban is part of efforts to combat rising special fraud cases targeting the elderly, including other measures like transaction limits and mandatory fraud checks at convenience stores. The Japan Times reports that there was a record high loss from fraud of 6.4 billion yen in the last year, with over 70% of victims being 65 or older. And that wraps up today's edition of the Local Government News Roundup. My thanks to Shane Sali, the Mayor of Greater Shepparton and the Chair of RCV, for joining me. I'll have another Victorian Mayor about a very unique project coming up on our next edition of the Roundup. This was episode number 447, recorded on Sunday the 4th of May 2025. You can send comments or feedback to lgweeklynews@gmail.com and check out lgnewsroundup.com for more information about the episode, including story links. The Roundup is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. The Local Government News Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Until next time, thanks for listening and bye for now. I'm thrilled to welcome Symphony 3 to the Local Government News Roundup family. If you're a local council, you know how challenging it can be to manage data across all your different systems. That's where Symphony 3 comes in. They've developed Smart Glue, a platform that integrates over 55 council systems, automating data flow without the need for manual work. It turns confusion into simplicity. With Smart Glue, councils save time, reduce errors and empower staff to focus on what really matters. Their clients see a real difference, up to 20% boost in productivity, with savings of over $30,000 per integration every year. Symphony 3 helps councils work smarter, faster and more efficiently, all while better supporting the communities they serve.